I'm Naja Hall, and we're back with an update on the Romeca Meeks story, the 31-year-old mother who was killed in front of her son's school in Chicago. I have here my friend investigative journalist Steph Watts, who has some exclusive details not yet released about this developing case. Steph, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Naja. Thanks for having me. As you know, Naja, I was based in Chicago. I worked there for ABC News. I covered cases like the murder of Jennifer Hudson's family. So I have connections in the Chicago Police Department, the CPD. So this is what we know, and this is what's new. As we're sitting here talking now on your platform, Holly Johnson, the shooter, has been released by the Chicago Police Department and is not facing any charges. Now, that doesn't mean she can't be charged later on, but she's currently not being charged with anything because, and this is really important, she said the right things. She had, first of all, she had a license for the gun. She had a CCL, and she told the investigating officers that she was in fear for her life. Okay. Now, Naja, you have to remember, with that language and with not enough facts, they have to release her.
Does this have any? You mentioned something earlier. You said about 75% of the people in that jurisdiction that commit these types of crimes are released. Does this mean they're never charged, or maybe perhaps a month from now when we get other facts or a media storm happens, she might be charged? Or are your sources thinking that this case is done, it's over, we've moved on?
Of all the cases similar to this in the Chicago area, 75% of them are released and never charged. In this particular case, she's been released and is currently not facing charges, but under pressure from the social media, under pressure from people that are watching, that's possible that it could change. Now, also, to put another twist into this story that people don't understand, Carlos himself is facing some potential charges.
I think things can get really complicated when we're thinking about the ego, parenting, human behavior, and people's entitlement to their own children, and jealousy, and absolute jealousy, and just the inability to control one's impulses. We're saying what kind of a man? Yes, this dude is being demonized for sure, but
you know who's lost? I don't know. You know who's lost in this conversation, Naja? Think about it. That little boy has to come out of school or be taken out of school.
Oof.
Somebody has to tell him that his mother was gunned down at that school, and then he more than likely, I don't know the family dynamics, has to go home with that father and potentially the woman who killed his mother. And she's not going to be charged.
She has gotten away with it.
Sit here. She is not going to be charged for the murder.
According to the state, the murder that she rightfully did, that she rightfully committed.
I don't want people to be outraged at the Chicago Police Department. The Chicago Police Department presented the case to the state attorney's office. Okay, they brought the case in the state attorney's office. Let's be really clear on this.
The state attorney's office was like, we ain't got a case. We don't have a case. This is a clear. So they're saying it's clean cut self-defense. Let's wrap it up. Let's go home.
But I'm asking
the state attorney's office.
Right. So this is why I want, because I got a lot of calls on this and I didn't want to talk about it, but I promised you I would talk about it with you because I know the story is personal to you, because I know you have a similar situation. I want people that are watching to understand you can put pressure on the state attorney's office. She needs to be charged. She was 15 feet away. She walked into a volatile situation, and there was no reason why that woman should be dead. There's absolutely no reason, and you've got to remember, she brought although she had a CCL, she took an open weapon, outside of a school.
A school.
Where there was children, and she murdered somebody else in cold blood. And 9:30 in the morning with children, there could have still been children going in. Sometimes kids are late. There was a lot of people still there. You could tell by the video that you're going to show people. So, I'm outraged by this. I think it's disgusting. I think the Chicago Police Department is incredibly frustrated from my conversations with them. They did everything they could do to charge. I think there's going to be more charges, but I'm telling you, who's going to be in trouble in this is Carlos. He's got some problems, and if he thinks he's scot-free, he's not. And I hope he's watching, and I hope he should be incredibly nervous. But
are you, according to your sources, and I want you to share as much as you can, is there an active investigation into Carlos? Is he possibly facing charges? What do you mean by that?
This is why I'm so frustrated with this. I know who this guy. I know this type. Okay, if this guy has committed another murder, okay, if this guy has a volatile relationship with the victim, can't stand her, wants him out of his life, what's the easiest way to do it? Not get him to do it. He brought his girlfriend there. He knew she had a CCL. He knew
So
she
he
had.
wouldn't have blood
So,
on his
Naja, I'm
hands.
going to bring you to my girlfriend. I'm going to instigate a thing. I know your temper. I know her temper. I know you're going to fight. I know you're going to shoot her. She's out of the way. He gets custody of the child. That's why I'm so frustrated with the state attorney's office. They need to dig deeper. They looked at the surface of this case, and this. I want people to understand that my history. I've done this for 25 years. I
And
live.
just in case you guys don't know who Steph Watts is, Steph is one of the people that did pivotal research and investigative journalism in the Casey Anthony case. He also worked on the John Benet Ramsey case and owns a lot of exclusive rights and footage. He's sat with the family members on both sides to bring justice in both of those cases.
Right.
So
I was involved in the
he's
Drew
done.
Peterson case. I witnessed the autopsy of Kathleen Salvio. I was the one that got the charges brought against Drew Peterson and why he sits in jail. I was there for the murder of for the disappearance of Stacy Peterson. Realized, wait, this other guy's wife is dead, and they said it was an accident. And guess what, Naja? It wasn't an accident. It was a homicide. And Drew Peterson sits behind bars because of the work we did. I've sat face to face with killers, Joran Vandersloot. I sat face to face with the only man ever charged with the murder of John Benet Ramsey. I'm not tooting my horn. I just want people to know that I have 25 years of experience, and I'm looking at this case.
So when you say we need to watch out for Carlos, this means you're noticing a pattern. You've seen something before. Okay.
How did this situation escalate to the point where a man is wrestling with his ex-girlfriend, a mother of his child, in the parking lot? How does it get to the point where the other woman pulls out a gun and shoots her? Like, we need to big picture this stuff. It's just like, who's culpable for this? Well, guess what, Naja? There's no one being charged for her murder. No.
Let's go back to that. Let's because I feel like you said it and it was a bit jarring, and I'm in a state of disbelief. We saw the aftermath. There's no videos of the actual shooting or the incident just yet, but we saw the aftermath. This woman has been released. Now, does this mean that she's not going to be charged? And we know the statistics in Chicago. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because it's not making sense. This woman essentially gets to go home with her boyfriend / baby daddy with the child they have together. I'm assuming the son that he shared with the deceased is also with him because he's now the full-time custodial parent. So she's having to be in the household with the child of a woman that she killed. That is jarring. But what do we know at this point about, will she be charged, or is this a done deal and has justice been served as far as the law is concerned?
Here's what I know, and here's what I've learned. Now, she had a CCL, which is a carrying concealed license for the weapon. She claimed, and she used the language that the state attorney's office wasn't. State attorney's office wants to hear, which is, I was in fear for my life. Here's what's contradicting to what her statements are. From what I understand, she was 15 feet away from the victim. All right, 15 feet away from the victim, and there was 4 shots fired. She was shot in the face and she was shot in the leg. So I think if you're in fear for your life and you're trying to immobilize a person, 1 shot will work for that. So why was 4 shots fired? Why was she 15 feet away? And so let's just back up a little bit. So what had happened was she had arrived at
To the school.
Yeah, she arrived at the school with her boyfriend, who's also a father of both women's children. Okay, so Holly has a restraining order against the victim. Okay, so you're coming into a situation. If I have a restraining order against you, okay, right? And I see you, I'm not going to approach you. So these families interacted. They had, and here's what else. If they were dropping off their children at school, or if they were coming to see his child going to school, he was late because the child had already gone into school. So It sounds to me like this was an situation that could have been avoided. No matter what people say the victim did, if the victim spoke ill to the shooter, whatever happened, nothing can justify pulling out a gun from 15 feet away, shooting and killing someone outside your child's school, firing 4 shots into someone's face, into someone's leg, killing them, waiting calmly for the police to get there, and then telling the police, I was in fear.
I have the right to carry.
I
did. She said that, yeah.
She had a CCL. Right?
She said that several times. She said, hey, very calmly, it was self-defense. I have the right to carry a weapon, but you do not have the right to kill. So just to be clear, the reports that you're getting from your sources say that the shots were fired from 15 feet away, because some of the witnesses on the scene on that gruesome video that we saw say that the man in the middle, the father of both of these women's children, was probably breaking up a fight, right? One guy even said on the scene, he said, you had her in a headlock. It's one of the eyewitnesses. Do you have any detail on what that meant? Were the 3 of them and then some sort of altercation?
Yeah, so you're talking about the man in the middle of this, Carlos Weey, who's to me is literally an absolute disgrace, and we can talk about him later because there's some stuff going to come out about Carlos himself. So there's eyewitnesses accounts all over TikTok, Twitter, all the social media platforms saying that Weey had Meeks in a headlock. Okay, now there's no way that. Look, I'm just talking from my 25 plus years experience covering crimes, investigating cases.
Right.
That, he's got her in a headlock and the woman shoots 4 shots into her and hits her in the face and leg. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty good shot to do that. So whether or not there was an altercation prior to the shooting is left to be determined.
Right.
We can, you've got the video, Naja. I know you're going to show the video. I think
there's parts of the video that I'm absolutely going to have to cut out because I just will not show this woman in her final state there. But according to the video that I'm showing here, as you can see, the witness is screaming out, "You had her in a headlock." This lets me know that the shooting was because of some sort of physical confrontation that happened.
There's a lot of unanswered questions in this situation. Why was the father of the child that was in school there with his baby mama or with his girlfriend? Why were they there? What were they doing there? Why would she come to the school with a gun? Yes, you have a CCL. As I sit here with you, she's been released and she is not being charged. Now, let me tell you something. What could happen with everybody that's watching this and circulating that video, pressure from people on social media could put pressure on the state attorney's office. The state attorney's office doesn't want to take a case that they don't believe that they can charge and win. She said all the right things. She had a CCL, she had a license to carry the gun, and she said, I was in fear for my life. Now, on paper, I know. I see you rolling your eyes. I know.
So that's all you got to say. You have to say, you got to make sure you have your paperwork in order, get your restraining order, and you can go and approach a person who you are asking the law to keep away from you, and you can take their life if you have your paperwork in order. That's what I'm understanding from CPD. Am I hearing you correctly? Am I misunderstanding
how this works? Correctly. And the reason that this is so upsetting, and I'm glad we're doing this, is because this sets a terrible, terrible precedent. Is that, of the arrests that are made in Chicago, 75% of the people are released. Naja, you've got to remember, right now, as we sit here, they felt that they didn't have enough evidence to charge her in the killing. That's something important, though, Steph. You said they're not going to take on a case that they don't think that they can win. So clearly there's something there, some evidence that's not released, some sort of statement, some sort of history that they are privy to that we just don't know about yet. And they knew that they would not get a prosecution of this woman in court. This not even manslaughter, not even premeditated, because I've gone through the Facebook of all 3 parties at this point. I do believe the shooter's Facebook page has already been deactivated, but the man, his Facebook page is still there, and the deceased, her TikTok page and her other social medias are still up. According to the deceased, she actually had a restraining order against her child's father, and he was consistently violent. She would even post pictures of the aftermath of some of his violent outbursts, him coming to destroy her property, coming to destroy the son's property, allegedly. And these are
photos that she posted on her own social media. Do we know anything about this man? And he does not look like the violent one in this video. He looks like almost a father that is grieving. He looks like he is confused and befuddled. But what do we know about Carlos Weey?
Well, let me tell you this. Let's really like get into the nitty gritty of this. What kind of a guy goes to the school, brings a woman who has a restraining order against his other baby's mom? Come on, Naja. Like, I'm not going to bring somebody to your house that I know that has an active restraining order against you. I'm not going to bring anyone within 100 feet. I'm not going to even socialize with somebody that has an active restraining. Carlos Weey, from what I've learned, has his own set of problems. But here's what I want to clear up about him. There's no way that Carlos Weey was holding her down while she was shot, because he would have been charged. So it's possible that there was some kind of an altercation between him and the victim. That altercation ended. The shooter went and got her gun. She was 15 feet away. You really need to remember, she was 15 feet away when she fired 4 shots. One of them hitting the victim's face, one of them hitting the victim's leg, and killing the victim. Okay, 15
So
feet
at the moment when you're 15 feet away, I'm assuming she probably went back to her car to retrieve the weapon. We don't know that for sure, but that's just my assumption. She could have gotten in her car and driven off. She could have said, you know what? Forget this, I'm going to go. But instead, she chose to draw that weapon. To be clear, this woman is known to be petite. She was a tiny, tiny woman. So people can say anything. Again, this is all alleged. But,
Right.
you know, I'm trying to understand, how did we get to go from just a brawl at the school to someone laying on the ground dead?
Right. So let's big picture this. This is how I work. This is how myself as an investigative journalist work. This is how the police work. Let's big picture this. Romeca dropped her son off at school, wrote him a beautiful note. She had somewhere to be. She had a schedule. She was dropping her son off. Then she had to be somewhere else. Okay, she had to be at work. You and I both know what that's like. A, B, I've got to be here, drop my son off. Hectic morning. Carlos and Holly were coming to the school. For what reason they were coming there, we don't know. You said to me that it was to bring him lunch. I don't know.
Well, my assumption is it's his child's, he's at school, because, you know, I deal a lot with high conflict custodial battles and the restraining orders and the things of that nature. He probably was just at the school because he either wanted to see the kid or it was some sort of pickup drop off. They should not have been in the same place at the same time, but sometimes these situations are unavoidable. You can disagree, but I have lived it, and I have been in these situations and had to be in the same room with a high conflict person where there was an act of violence, and sometimes it is literally unavoidable. As a matter of fact, in some of the mutual injunctions and orders of protection that I've seen, they state parties should stay 500 feet away from each other. Got it? Easy, right? Unless it is absolutely necessary. That means at functions that center the children, school, church, soccer games, and things of that nature. Sometimes it's absolutely unavoidable. What we don't expect is for them to confront each other. If you see me over there and you're over here, stay away. But some sort of way their paths cross too much, and we know that words must have flown. We know there was an argument without us knowing. But you said you can disagree, Steph, all day.
Let me tell you why I disagree with you. Okay, let's go back to the schedule. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
She was dropping her son off at school. The son had gone into school. Okay, if the father wants to see the son, who's going to go into the school and pull their son out? He could see the son after school. He could see the son on his visitation. Guys, I want to know why they were there. I'm going to tell you why I think they were there. I think they were there because they knew she was dropping the kid off, and they were going there to confront her, and they did that, and she ended up dead, and now they're claiming that it was self-defense. I'm telling you, Naja, I've seen this story 100,000 times. There's no reason for them to be at that school.
That does not look like self-defense in that case. That looks like this was a premeditated, planned ambush. She was shot around 9:30. I'll look and see what time school actually starts. I
think it's 8:30 a.m. in Chicago.
So it says she was fatally shot around 9:35 a.m. School would have started maybe perhaps an hour. So we don't know what transpired in the time that little boy went off to school. We don't know if his dad was able to say, "Hey, son," give him a kiss and both parents sent them into the school. We simply don't know. I
Yeah,
find it difficult to believe and not nonsensical that people would claim self-defense when it's what you're saying is you're painting it as if it was some sort of ambush, which it very well could have been.
Let me ask you this: if you're telling me there was an hour time gap, let's work the timeline. We always work the timeline. If there was an hour timeline, if that child was in school at 8:30 and she was killed at 9:30, was she waiting for him to get there for whatever reason, to have a conversation with him? If she was really like dropping off her child and leaving, she would have dropped off her kid, watched him walk into school, and gone. So why are we an hour outside of the time that the child was to be into school, and now she's dead outside? What happened in that hour? Okay,
what happened? So always see she reportedly dropped off her young son at school. We know that. And she was seen arguing with a female that she knew. A female was arrested. So we know that there was a confrontation between these two women. We also know that the shooter did not drive all the way from Milwaukee. It was previously stated. We know that she was at her child's father's house, and did they drive together? Did they arrive together? These are still very much unanswered questions. And the reason that you and I are keeping tabs on this story, because we are only presenting the facts. We're not trying to get this. We're not trying to be first. We're trying to be accurate.
Again, it's really important for people to try to put on their investigation hat and look at this. Romeca had a reason to be there. She was dropping off her son. What was the reason for Holly and Carlos to be there? What was the reason for them to be at that school? We don't know. Maybe they had a reason. Was there? Did she have a child that went there? Did he have another child that went there? All we know is that she had a restraining order. Holly has a restraining order against Romeca. Okay, she goes there. Okay, so we don't know who approached who, but if Romeca had approached Holly, then she was in violation of the restraining order. Okay, that's a problem. She wasn't. We don't know, but there was eyewitnesses. Maybe there's video of it. We don't know when people started filming, but there was obviously some kind of an altercation. Okay, then Holly somehow retrieves the gun. She has a CCL. She retrieves the weapon. She's 15 feet away from the victim and shoots her 4 times. One hitting her in the face, one hitting her in the leg, and she's dead. Okay,
we're talking 15 feet. Away. So I'm 5'6", so that's 3 of me. So that's quite a difference. Just to frame it to those of you listening, that's quite a ways away. Unless she thought that the deceased had a weapon, at this point, all we can do is speculate until facts come out. But one of the facts that we know is the shooter is free right now. We will be back when we have more updates. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And as soon as we hear something, you'll hear something. I'll see you all soon.